I know who you're clapping for. It's not me either, is it?
It is, really it is.
It is not.
Deep down it is, absolutely.
Deep down.
Hello, good afternoon and welcome.
It's such a pleasure to welcome you on the Fabulous Picture Show. Sir David Frost, everybody. Now, we know we're all here because this film, Frost Nixon, is based on your real-life interview with Nixon himself.
Absolutely, with a few emendations. 15% of fiction, but 85% of fact.
Did you expect him to say, "I let down the American people"?
We hoped we'd get a mea culpa of some kind, but in fact, in the end, we got more than even we expected.
Would you go further than mistakes? The word that seems not enough for people to understand.
What word would you express?
What was that moment like?
That was the most heart-stopping moment I've ever had.
My goodness, I think that there are three things.
There was a sense in which he was more vulnerable than he would ever be again.
I would like to hear you say, I think the American people would like to hear you say, there was probably more than mistakes. There was wrongdoing. Secondly, I did abuse the power I had as president. And thirdly, I put the American people through 2 years of needless agony, and I apologize for that.
It is vintage David Frost. You are so non-combative but firm, but allowing this man dignity to say this, which I thought was exceptional, because it would have been easy to humiliate this man.
Yep, I let the American people down. And I have to carry that burden with me for the rest of my life. My political life is over.
You've always got to be trying to open people up, you know, not shut them up.
I let down my friends. I let down the country.
There were two Richard Nixons, and the bad Nixon won out over the good Nixon. That's the story.
It was late, but I did it. I cut off one arm, then cut off the other.
I cut off one arm, then I cut off the other, and I'm not a good butcher. Look, when you're in office, you gotta do a lot of things sometimes that are not always, in the strictest sense of the law, legal.
So how do you find it when you watch this film, and certainly the play, characterize you as this lightweight sort of guy, this charmer, this dilettante, if I use...
Yeah, playboy, they say.
Playboy.
Success in America is unlike success anywhere else.
He was trying to build up me as an underdog and so on, and so he forgot all the things I'd done before the Nixon interviews, prime ministers and presidents and things.
But you had interviewed Nixon before, hadn't you?
Yes,
in 68?
you see, I had, exactly as you say, Amanda, and I'd been working bloody hard. I'd done about 5,000 interviews by the time I did the Nixon interviews, so I wasn't exactly a novice.
Forget about the trivia, David. Who cares whether Nixon took the White House bed to Europe when he traveled?
I do.
It's just a sort of banal anecdote that would distract the talk.
Go on. No, say it. What, you going to say talk show host?
Yeah. Yeah, I was.
The film gives a number of reasons why Nixon did the interview. Money, put aside the story, etc., etc.
Mr. Frost, it's still a small matter of the...
Of course.
But also suggests perhaps he was kind of looking for a confessor. Do you think there was any validity in that?
No, I don't think so, because I think it was the last thing he was thinking of. The point about Nixon is he would never be a cooperative witness. The only time that you'd get something out of him is when you'd blocked off his other escapes.
Right, wait, just so I understand correctly. Are you really saying that in certain situations, the president can decide whether it's in the best interests of the nation and then do something illegal?
I'm saying that when the president does it, that means it's not illegal.
I'm sorry?
My God, we got him.
He thought television was very important, Nixon. He always used to say, Carter's on doing a broadcast tonight. That's quite right, you know. It's the tube. That's what matters. It's the tube. And he thought the tube was very important. And he hoped, I think, to sort of exonerate himself.
The tube, as he called it, cost him an election in 1960 against Kennedy, didn't it?
Yeah, absolutely did. I mean, if you remember that debate with him sweating on television in his 5 o'clock shadow, he lost that debate on television, according to the polls, but he won it on radio, where they didn't have to look at him.
Mr. Nixon, would you like to comment on that statement?
I have no comments. How much did you shoot in comparison with what you you showed?
Amazingly, we did 28 3/4 hours. We had the rights to do 24 hours, but some of the areas we were getting into were taking longer. So I took Jack Brennan out to lunch and I said, you know, we haven't got any more money, but we need 4 extra hours. He said, oh, no money. Well, I don't think we could do that. And I said, because, you know, if we don't get the extra 4 hours, you know, we'll have to drop some subjects, like China. We got the 4 hours.
Hello, David.
Hello there.
Did that late night phone call really happen?
No.
Ah.
We're going to show those bums. We're going to make them choke. Am I right?
You are. Except only one of us can win.
Yes. And I shall be your fiercest adversary.
I thought that was a bit of the 10% to 15% of fiction that was really brilliant, because I thought it was a fantastic study of Richard Nixon's character.
How much time is devoted to Watergate?
25%. Just 1 of 4 90-minute shows.
What are the other 3 divided into?
Domestic affairs, foreign policy, and Nixon the man.
Nixon the man? As opposed to what? Nixon the horse?
Do you think this film at all will see people sympathise with Nixon more than perhaps he deserves?
Well, I think that not necessarily sympathise with him, but perhaps understand him a bit, because basically, I mean, also Peter Morgan's given him some good jokes, which, you know, make the humour come through, which probably wasn't there, really. I mean...
Stand by to roll tape.
You had a pleasant evening last night?
Yes. 4, 3, 2.
Did you do any fornicating?
And cue David.
I wanted to know whether it was accurate that you risked all financially, as portrayed in the film, to make the interviews.
Yes, that bit was true.
Right, $200,000 made out in the name of
Irving Balthazar.
Richard Nixon.
And I, among other things, sold my shares in London Weekend Television to finance £200,000 of the interviews. And when LWT was sold, about 25 years later, Ray Snoddy, who's a brilliant sort of journalist about the media, rang me up and said, David, do you realise if you'd kept your London Weekend shares, that today you would have received a cheque for £37 million? But I'd do it the same way again. It was worth it.
Can we please thank here the very entertaining, the very distinguished Sir David Frost. Thank you so much.
Do you know those parties of yours? The ones that I read about in all the papers. Do you actually enjoy those? Of course. You got no idea how fortunate that makes you. Liking people and being liked. Maybe we got it wrong. Maybe you should have been a politician and I the rigorous interviewer.
Maybe.
On a scale from 1 to 10, I would give this film 10.
A 9 out of 10?
9 out of 10. I thought it was really great.
Deep, intense.
Revealing, emotional.
Very thought-provoking.
And interesting.